A long time ago in Poland, there was a young man who was a crack shot. He was a sharpshooter. The lord of the local manor decided that he wanted this young man to keep the wolves from the door. So he gave him a job. Now, all went well for a couple of years. The young man's fame spread throughout the region. So anytime he went to a tavern, people would buy him a drink. All went well for that couple of years. But then disaster struck. The snows came down heavily and more heavily and yet more heavily. And the wolves were driven to desperation. The wolves were driven to defy the young man's gun. And first, one horse was slaughtered. And then another. And then still another. Oh. Now the lord of the manor, as you can imagine, was really upset. And he said to the young man, look, you've got to improve this situation. Well, the pressure made the young man sort of lose his confidence. So whereas before he'd been almost unable to miss, now he was almost unable to hit. Terrible situation. Soon the lord of the manor said, if you can't improve, then I'm afraid I'm going to have to let you go. And this would have affected not only the young man's livelihood, but also his housing, because he lived in a cottage on the manor grounds. He was walking through the woods one day, feeling utterly miserable. Oh, I would give anything to get my skill back. Well, wouldn't you know it, someone was listening. At that very moment, there was a whirlwind appeared, and a tiny little man with red face. He said, did I hear you say you'd give anything to get your skill back? Oh yes, I'd give anything to get my skill back. Well, I'll make a deal with you. I'll give you your skill back, and I'll come back at the end of a year. And if you can tell me the name of a bird that I don't know, then you'll be free to go with your skill. But if you fail to speak of a bird that I don't know, then you will serve me forever. The young man felt that sounded a little bit ominous, but he knew a few birds, and so he agreed. And then the whirlwind reappeared, and the red man sank through the earth. And true to the little red man's promise, the young man did regain his skill. Once again, he could hit something, hardly aiming at it. And so life was comfortable once again. But as the year rolled around, he started to worry about the bird, the right bird to confound the little red man. Geese? No. Ducks? No, of course not. He was starting to get more and more anxious about what would happen at the end of the year. One day he was sitting by the side of the stream by his cottage, trying to eat some porridge. And he heard something coming from upstream. Daisy! Daisy! And around the bend in the river came a little coracle, a round boat, with a woman standing up in it, poling. And this was the ugliest person that the young man had seen in his life. Her eyes were a bit asquiff and her nose was off to one side. She said, "Have you seen my Daisy?" And the young man said, "No, I haven't, I'm sorry." And she said, she pulled herself over to the side of the stream and sat down. The young man said, "Look, you're welcome to share my breakfast." And so she happily ate some of that porridge. Good porridge, actually. And they began to talk. The young man shared his problem with being able to identify a bird and escape from having to be this little red man's servant forever. And the woman said, "Well, you see my face, nobody wants to marry me, even though I've got a really good brain in my skull. Maybe we should get together. If you marry me, then I will think of a way to overcome your problem with this little red man." Well, okay, yeah. So the young man agreed. So they went off and they got married. And to each other's surprise, they actually got along really well together. They took turns cooking and cleaning, and the woman found her cow, and so they had some nice milk to drink each morning. And the young man carried on with his job of patrolling the manor grounds. Now, time rolled on. Another month went by, and the appointment with the red man was getting closer and closer. The young man asked his wife, and she said, "Look, don't worry about it. I've got it all under control." And so more time went by. And finally, the day arrived. The anniversary of his deal with the little red man arrived. Have you got anything sorted out yet? All under control. Now, can you go to the house and get me a couple of pillows and bring them into the shed? So the young man did that. She went into the shed. And when he brought the pillows in, she ripped them open and she spilled all the feathers over the ground. And then she climbed into the barrel of honey that they had stored up. She got out of the barrel and she began to roll in the feathers. And just at that moment, there was a loud cluttering and crashing outside. And there, on the roof of the well, the little red man had appeared. Now's the time for you to come with me and be my servant forever. The young man said, No, no, I have got a bird that you have never heard of. I don't believe you. What's your bird called? Young man said, It's called a Popplesnitch. A Popplesnitch, a Popplesnitch. I've never heard of the Popplesnitch. And then, out from the shed came his wife, all covered with feathers, and going, whack, 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 whack. Well, this took the little red man aback, and he jumped back on top of the well. And the young man said, Look, yes, you better beware of the Popplesnitch. The Popplesnitch is a very, very fierce bird. Oh. After some furious grunting and growling, the little red man had to admit that he had never heard of this Popplesnitch. And so there was another little whirlwind, and off he disappeared back beneath the earth. And so it was that the woman saved the young man from a fate worse than death. And they lived together happily for many years. And in his eyes, she became the most beautiful woman in the world.